read so far, but I'm sure there are people speaking Kiswahili in Rwanda. And as you look at the way they also join the Commonwealth, and it's having the English itself is working as a common language, because a person from Uganda can still go to Rwanda, Kenya, Tanzania and speak English as well as Kiswahili. That is enough. Talking of political confederation, I shall refer you to Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia once had this political confederation having 6 states and 2 provinces. But this fell. Why? This is because of ethnic nationalism. Each country, each state, had citizens that are having more of glory seekers, having too much ambitions, so they are trying to be superior to the other race. This alone is bringing conflicts. I shall have to tell you that prevention is better than cure. Why would you go on to go for a cause and get a disease somewhere, knowing because there is medication, yet you can just simply prevent it and save the little money that you would have used in medication? We shall also look at the Russia itself. We can talk still Yugoslavia. This union was having Russian dominance. I shall refer you back to the old ESC. Kenya itself was dominating the old ESC. You get? It was dominating the old ESC. And so it was the case in Yugoslavia, Russia dominating it all. In Moscow was developing at a higher rate, yet other states, these ends are lagging behind, simply because of the political confederation, simply because Russia is the superior. It shall not level each one. We don't need the political confederation. We are all right with the social and economic integration. All we need is just a little adjustments to make sure that our aims reach their cause. Still going on, I shall give you an example of the European Union. It does not have this political confederation. The European Union is not having the political confederation. The European Union has France, Germany, Spain, Belgium, and other countries. All these countries, looking at them, they are doing well. They are developed, looking at their social and economic statuses. They are really doing well. Political confederation is not guaranteeing us anything. Rather than going in to face the same problems that was faced in Yugoslavia, we shall rather stay with our usual arrangement and simply have to adjust it and just add a little effort so that we can reach the goals that we put forth. I've already given you some of these things. We already have travel documents showing the harmonious nature of the economic the economic integration. We do not need any kind of politics or something. We shall give an example of the conflict that has been between Uganda and Rwanda. Do you really think these heads of state, all these states would work together if there's a political confederation? They would still conflict and come up with something that is really going to affect the whole region.
Thank you so much, Mr. Manzi Ivan, for the information you have shared and good use of your 5 minutes. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Yes, I'll now go back to you and you will wind up this first phase of ours in as far as the discussion is concerned. Let us hear from you, Mr. Ndibagoba.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Grant Andrew. I'll repeat again. And
can we hear your name again?
Grant Andrew Ndibagoba.
Okay.
Yeah, and this house believes that there is need for a political confederation to attain social and economic integration. I will start. How? At first, I have to talk about the challenges that are facing East African countries. One, there is diseases, corruption, balance of payments, tribalism, illiteracy, disunity. Are you getting? And one thing I have to ask you, who is saying there is no need of a political confederation, is that, do you know where we are? How have we proceeded? Do you know the Millennium Development Goals? Have they been achieved with the ESC? They have not been achieved at any point. You're talking about Russia. The reason why it collapsed, it was because of foreign dominancy, foreign pressure. Russia was dominating, but at the same time countries develop. developed. Look at Poland with Warsaw. Look at Norway with Bergen, with Oslo. They all developed because of that United Soviet Union. Look at Yugoslavia. China developed because the United Soviet Union was helping it. That's why I think there should be a political integration. One, it's because when we have a political confederation, integration, what will happen? First of all, we shall have one standard army and police force. Another thing, we shall have the same currency. Another thing, we shall have the same ministries. We shall have one president that will have a constitutional charter to follow, the one that will not be mismanaged. And another thing I have to tell you is that the political integration, what will it help when we have it in East Africa? One is that East Africa has been lagging behind. Actually, East Africa is among the regions in Africa that they are underdeveloped. And now if you put all the countries together, when you bring the countries together, what will happen? We shall be able to fight most of these challenges. You're saying that in Rwanda and Uganda there were conflicts. Do you know them? Do you know the cause? But imagine if there was political confederation. Do you think those conflicts would exist? The selfish imperialism conflicts. Do you think they would exist if there was political integration? They would not. You can also see that. Are you getting? So I can tell you political configuration, integration is very, very important. Political union is very important to our region. Nkwame Nkrumah of Ghana said that when one stick is alone, what will happen? It is easy to be broken. But when there are many in a bunch, it's very hard, even with an axe. The reason why we are so much dominated by neocolonialism, it's because of what? Of disunity in the political integration. They come and disunite us, and they continue colonizing us. But when there is political integration, there will be extreme utilization of resources. And another thing, I have to tell you that however the United Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, December 26, it had achieved a lot. As I said, it collapsed because of foreign pressure. However much that Russia was dominating, it's because it was the most powerful state. It's obviously that in East African community, Kenya is the most powerful in terms of economy. Are you getting? And that will, even if it develops, it dominates in the economy of East Africa, it will help others. Why? There will be industrial specialization. There will be employment. People from Rwanda who are unemployed, people from Kenya, people from South Sudan, people from Uganda will go to Kenya and they will be employed. There will be balance of payments. Our economy will go so high. The gross domestic product will increase at a very high rate. And another thing, talk about security. The reason why countries like South Sudan, Northern Uganda are facing a lot of insecurities, even Northern Kenya, is because there is no one standard army. You know, if there is a standard army, one, it will be so strong. You get? There will be a lot. First of all, there will be numerical advantage, technological advantage, and economical advancement. You know, the army is strong according to the economy. So if the economy is strong, the army will also be very strong.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ndibago. You have taken very good use of your 5 minutes, and your last point was to do with security and the standard army for the whole East African region. That is if we manage to score the goal of political confederation. Those were our first 3 discussants. That's why these people are clapping for them. And that was their submission. We're taking a very short break of not more than a minute. On return, we're going to have the last 3, and we shall also ask them questions that will take us on towards the end. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not miss because it's getting heated here. Thank you so much.
15 smartphone with free 1 GB Airtel data every month for 3 months. Enjoy unique features like the big memory, 4000 mAh big battery, 5-inch HD screen, and the fingerprint sensor. Dial *175*9# to activate free 1 GB Airtel data every month for 3 months. Get yours at the nearest Itel branded shop. Itel, in partnership with Airtel, the smartphone network.
Presents the Yo-Yo 365 dinner party at the National Theatre on Wednesday 20th November. Tickets go for 100k and VIP 1 million. Come experience an evening of soothing Yo-Yo music as you wine and dine with Yo-Yo. Proudly powered by UBC, MV Kalangala, Mama Lususu, RG Consult, Stone Roofing International, 9 Barrels, a Scotch blended whiskey, and Hit Media.
Send money from Airtel to Airtel at 60% discounted rates. Yes, you can now send money for as low as 100 shillings and a maximum of 1,000 shillings. And that's not all. You can now withdraw up to 7 million shillings from your nearest Airtel Money agent for as low as 12,500 shillings. Remember, depositing money is free, buying airtime through Airtel Money is free, Airtel Money and PIN registration is free, do not pay any transaction charges directly to the agent, and never share your PIN number with anyone. Enjoy the lowest rate on sending and withdrawing money on Airtel Money today. Airtel Money, simple, instant, secure. Airtel, the smartphone network.
Yes, a very good morning once again. Thank you so much for tuning in to UBC TV. We are still continuing with our debate with students from Namagoma St. Mark's College, Namagoma. Thanks for the correction. We are here having a very heated debate about whether we need a political confederation of the East African community. So far, we are still dealing in the economic aspects, but how about if we go for the political one, like indicators show? So, how good are we if we dare that? That's the discussion we are holding here. We are having 6 panelists. We have already heard from the 3, and we are also going to hear from the other 3. And we'll start with Mr. Noble. Yes. Straight away, let's go to you and get to hear what you have to say about our topic.
Yes, good morning to you all. This House believes that there is need for a political confederation to achieve social and economic integration. Now, something I want you to first understand before we go any other further is that a political confederation calls for a unified army, one government, it calls for one currency, one language, and mutually having East Africa as one country. In East Africa right now, we are having social and economic integration without the political confederation. Since the revival of the EAC in 1999, I want you to notice that the EAC has managed to achieve so many things without even the political confederation. As we say, history always repeats itself. Before we rush into things of creating the political confederation, I want us to understand that the political confederation has been tried out in so many countries, and it has always come to fail. To start with, let's talk about the Yugoslavian Federation. Someone came here and told us about the Yugoslavian Federation. The Yugoslavian Federation was a federation that was having 6 provinces and 2 states. What happened to Yugoslavia that in 1980 it actually failed because of one, the main reason was poor leadership and ethnic nationalism. Looking at USSR, the United Soviet Socialist Republic, it was dissolved on 26th December 1991. What happened was one of the states, Belarus, came up and stood up against Russia. This is what we refer to ethnic nationalism, when one state comes and stands up against the other. Now, in East Africa, we're already having economic and social integration. Economic and social integration, as by the economic integration, we are the second stage. The second stage is what they call the free trade area, whereby the removal of internal tariffs. Internal tariffs refer to the taxes or the barriers that are put on the goods and services that are moving throughout the countries. Now, we very well know that East Africa, the East African Federation, the East African community has Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, and recently joined is South Sudan in 2016. Now, I'm imagining a situation whereby East African community has one president. We very well know that the East African community can't have one president, one government, one army, or those very many unified things because of one reason. I wanted to look at a situation that is prevailing that was prevailing a few months ago between Rwanda and Uganda. Between Rwanda and Uganda, there were some conflicts between the governments, and they closed the borders. The borders were closed. What happened was actually that if these leaders are having disagreements over petty issues, do you think they're going to sit together to agree over one who is going to become the leader? In Yugoslavia, there was what they call the rotational leadership, whereby a leader would rule for 1 year. A leader from one country of the 6 states and 2 provinces would rule for 1 year, and it would be transferred. What actually happened was in around 1979, a leader from Croatia actually came up and blocked the election of another leader from Moldova. Now just imagine a situation in East Africa whereby a Ugandan leader blocks the election of a Rwandan leader. That will actually lead to a very, very big war in these states. So it will limit and lead to the actual failure of the few achievements that we have had of the East African community. Rather than having a political confederation in East Africa, what we can actually do is actually having maintaining and strengthening the social and economic integration. We already have Kiswahili as one of the most dominant languages that we have in East Africa. We're well informed that every member state in East Africa has what they call the Kiswahili Commission. Yes, and the Kiswahili Commission is responsible for the promotion of Kiswahili throughout these countries. In Uganda, we have noticed that a few months ago, it was introduced in the syllabus as a compulsory subject, and this shows the level to which we're prospering. We really don't need to go much into things that are going to risk the existence of the East African community. Look at the situation of the currencies. In Russia or in the Soviet Union, they actually had what they call the ruble. But the ruble was, yes, it was a strong currency, but it actually failed because some countries actually came up with their own currencies opposing. So it will cause and it will even give so much reasons for failure of the community rather than what is already existing. Now, you people are talking about having one government, having one ministry, and having all those one things. Now, I want you to look at a situation where they start talking about a unified police. Imagine a situation whereby the head police is in Nairobi and a major crime is happening in Kampala. Given the time it will take for the Nairobian police to fly over to Kampala. So it will create a lot of bureaucracy. So rather than going into those things of having the political confederation, what you can actually do is to maintain and strengthen, because economic integration has 6 stages. The first stage having the non-profiteurial trade, whereby they remove some parts of the internal tariffs. Then what we are right now, the free trade area, and the other integration. Now we just need to strengthen and work towards having those integrations rather than going ahead to risk the
answer this as you wind up.
Yes.
So you said if we have a police chief in Nairobi and there are issues to do that needs police intervention in Kampala,
yes,
the gap is too big.
Yes.
But you're supporting the economic integration and the headquarters are in Addis Ababa. And here we are.
Yes.
Why do you think that gap is small and it is okay? It is only the one of the police that will be too big.
These are more, in most cases, economic terms or economic tendencies happen in form of services. Now, the head officers in Addis Ababa will grant what they call free trade. They will grant free tariffs, they reduce some taxes. Now, what their role will be just to check at the borders, as we're talking right now.
They just check on the borders and make sure these goods are supposed to be moving here and these goods are supposed to be moving here. So it doesn't in no way limit the trade that is happening in East Africa. We have the East African passport. It to a smaller extent limits the movement of people in East Africa. So if we have the head office of the East African Police in Nairobi, it will limit in some way, it will limit the efficiency of the police in Uganda or the security in Uganda.
Why? Do you want to say that it's the head office of police that executes all the roles of police? Isn't police supposed to have structures like you're talking about trade? I'm imagining a situation whereby the head police is in Nairobi, and what happens in Kampala... Let us look at it this way. You come from Namagoma, that's where you came from.
Yes.
Does the IGP sit in Namagoma?
No.
Do you have a police post in Namagoma?
Yes. In that view, I'm looking at a situation whereby there is a lot of bureaucracy in, let's talk about justice. Yes, as we very well know that the Uganda police is efficient, but its efficiency is to some state lowered. There is a reason why you call the police in Kampala and you tell them I have a thief at home, and they'll ask if you have transport. Do you have our transport to bring you to your home? The reason is because it is not so efficient. So I'm imagining a situation whereby a man in Kampala is being broken into by robbers. Yes, there are police posts in Kampala, and he calls Nairobi to be helped, or he calls the nearby police station. So if that police station has to subscribe to Nairobi to come and intervene, it will be a very, very big loophole to our security system in Kampala.
You are discussing East African community affairs here in Kampala.
Yes.
Nile Avenue.
Yes.
Street in Kampala. Where are the head offices of the East African community?
They're in Tanzania, in Arusha. There's something that...
yes, I wonder why you think that when it comes to political confederation and those systems being established, then there will be a very big gap. But already you're supporting what is existence, even when it is attached to the head offices that still are distant from where you are. Just close that and we wind up. I'm giving you 1 more minute.
Yes. What I'm worried about, what is worrying me the most actually, is the fact that the already existing services, economic and social. We're looking at languages, we're looking at free trade areas. These are areas that cannot be controlled or be manned by someone or by some. It's just a matter of systems. But when you talk about politics, this is a very, very vital area that has led to the failure and the downfall of very, very many federations.
I thought we were going to say that doesn't need systems.
No, at some point, yes, it needs the systems.
Just like trade.
Yes, it needs the systems. But I'm looking at a situation whereby there's a lot of bureaucracy. Because the East African leaders, well, there is that rotational leadership, but I'm looking at a situation whereby there is that bit of nationalism coming in. Yes, the head offices are in Kenya. We shall assume that a situation... Let me give a simple situation.
No, Mr. Noble. Let's get to another honorable. Thank you so much for your submission. You believe... Okay. So, gentlemen, next to Honorable Francesca, let's get to hear your submission.
Thank you very much. My name is Joshua Jefferson Olega from St. Mark's College, Namagoma. Well, first and foremost, I'd like to begin with, let me call it one of his last points, Honorable Noble's points. Well, he talks about security. Now, if you look at a case instead, you look at a country like the United States of America.
Yes.
Yes, we do believe the fact that they all conform to one police system, to one security system. Okay? And when you look at the security structures, the police departments are all divided into regions. Now, I'm going to draw this from the roots to take it back up to the leaves of the whole tree. Now, when you look at, let's say, a department like New York Police Department, you look at a department like LA or Los Angeles Police Department, can that be applied in Africa? Can that be applied in East Africa? Can't we have a case and study like Kampala Police Department? Yes, we can. When this police department is conforming to one security organ, is conforming to one central police station, which may be in Nairobi, may be in Arusha, may be in Kampala itself, and all those still can be under one government. All those still can be under one president. All that still can be under one judiciary. Okay? So you cannot come here and tell me I hear distance. No, the only problem we can find is, let's say, the urgency of a crime. The crime may be urgent, but that's why I come up and talk about the police departments. Now, back to a political confederation. What we call a political confederation is having one president, or in the layman's term, is having one uniform leader. What we're talking about here is very simple. We're going to have, let's say, one person to rule the whole of East Africa, calling East Africa one country. So what we want here is to create more unity. What we are looking at is to take East Africa to a level that it is not at. When you look at this, the development that has been, let's say, undertaken in East Africa, currently the most tangible and, let's say, the most evidential evidence of development is the Standard Gauge Railway. Where do you think we would be if we had a political confederation? Where do you think we would be if we had one president, one government, one banking system? Where do you think it would be? Would be far from that. Now, look at this political confederation as a window of opportunity. You know, to the dear, to our, let me say the negative side. In this session, you might call me Mwalimu and I'll call you Wanafunzi. So in other words, let me educate you on this. Look at a political confederation as a window of hope. You know, you're looking at states like Slovakia, so on and so forth. Yes, that is history. History does repeat itself, but I want you to prove to me the fact that it's going to happen in East Africa.
Okay. Mr. Olega. Yes. What political confederation do you think we can benchmark as the East African community in the world?
Let's give an example of the United States of America.
Good.
You know, America is a country, let's say it's one country, but there are other states that make up that whole region.
Beautiful.
Okay, look at a state like Kentucky. Look at a state like Ontario, a state like Tennessee. All of them have different, they have regional governments, but all of them do believe that they subscribe to one government.
Yes, I want you now to go back and look at the history, what makes them, what enables them easily subscribe and fit in the setting of the USA, then bring it to the picture of the East African community, Uganda, Batoro, Kalenjin and whoever, then come together to form Uganda, then form Kenya, then East Africa. Draw that picture for us and tell us how possible it can be to look exactly like the US.
You know, looking exactly like the US might not be our point in contention here, but now to answer what you've just put across, you know, the very one advantage that the United States have over us is that they are not multilingual like we are. You do believe that we are multilingual, right?
So that's their advantage?
The advantage is is having one race. We have very many races. We have the Baganda, we have the Batoro, the Bachiga, name it all. But what I am saying, if currently we do not have tribalism in Uganda, do we? We don't. Do we have it in Kenya? No. Do we have it in Burundi? We don't.
So it depends on what measure you use to come up with that observation.
Now, before we go to those measures, what I'm trying to put across is that currently, despite the fact that we do have many tribes in Uganda, we are still one people. We are still one Uganda. So if we have the audacity to put the tribal differences behind, that's why here we're having people of different tribes talking about one thing. If we have the audacity to put all the tribal differences behind, so why can't we get one government? We can, and it is so possible. But actually the fact that right now, we do not see any tribal differences, do we? We don't. We have seen that the presidents of Uganda have merged from different tribes. You can look at a case and study that one of the former presidents of Uganda was a Kakwa. That was this president, Amin Dada, the late president, His Excellency Amin Dada, he was a Kakwa. Look at Apo Mucho Mobote, who was an Acholi. Look at the current president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who is from Western Uganda. So we have already put those differences aside. We are one people. The same thing has happened in Kenya, the same thing has happened in Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and South Sudan. Unfortunately, though South Sudan is having some few conflicts here and there. Now, let me put you for a case in study. When you look at an organization like ECOWAS, there was a time when the president of Gambia did not want to surrender power. It so happened that the by then leader of ECOWAS came in. Their army too came in. That president was shifted out. Don't you think that is possible in East Africa? If at all it has happened in Africa, so why can't it happen in East Africa? It can happen.
Thank you so much. You have taken very good use of your 5 minutes. Okay, let us share that for just 1 minute.
Yes, I have a question. I have a few remembrances to make unto him. I will say that history will repeat itself. I want you to remember 1977. You're talking about East Africa having one government and all that, but do you notice that there's going to be some sort of development over the other countries? 1977, the failure of EAC was caused by what you can call greed, or what you can call greed between the leaders. Amin was given money to build the Soweto Flying School. He actually didn't build it. Kenyatta was given $100 million for the building of the East African Gateway Way. He actually banked it on his personal account. And you're talking about the presidents in Uganda. Do you notice that these presidents in Uganda, you've talked about Amin being a Kakwa. Do you notice that when Amin came to power, there was a lot of nepotism? Do you notice that the reason the
what is your point? We want to go to the next honorable and take a break. What is your point to him?
My point to him is one, the coming together of East African countries having one leader cannot work. That we have to agree. Because the moment you put a Ugandan, it will, obviously swing to the funds like Amin did in 1977.
I'll give you just 1 second to say something. I go to Mr. Agaba.
Now, this is very simple. All those incidences that you've talked of happened when we had separate governments. Can it happen when we have one joint government? No.
I'm looking at a situation whereby
that history repeating itself. Now give me a very, very, very good piece of evidence that the president of Uganda is going to come up and bar the election of a president from Kenya from becoming the East African president.
I want you to look at a situation
Okay.
Amin is given
the honorable, noble, and honorable. Like we're going to have that session. Let us hear from this man, the namesake of the MD of UBC. Our managing director is called Mr. Agaba Winston. Okay? That's why I'm bringing in you last. My boss has to be happy.
Thank you very much. Agaba Joe Gabriel. A short man has his coat where he can pick it.
Are you talking about yourself?
Thank you. A short man has his coat where he can pick it. Imagine Uganda, look at our development rates, look at East African countries. They are third world countries. And look at the example you've given us, USA. Can you compare Uganda's economy or those East African countries to USA's economy? Well, we cannot, because USA is highly developed in technology, economy, and everything. But Uganda, East Africa as a whole, way back. Then, we also talked about
USA.
The fact that USA is united under one race. I remember you said that. But do you know that Uganda have many ethnic tribes, and none of these ethnic tribes promote them being at the top? For example, the Baganda, they believe that they are at the top. And take an example of the president. He's a Mnyankore. I'm a proud Mnyankore. And yes, I am a proud. Yeah, the president is a Mnyankore, and he's receiving opposition from other tribes that he's promoting tribalism, because he has people from those tribes and from the Mnyankore side. So imagine if it happens in East African community, whereby we have one leader who's maybe a Kenyan. Don't you think that he would appoint only Kenyans and maybe Ugandans, but then just to keep up with the image? Then, in addition to that, we have regional imbalances. Uganda is not as developed as Kenya. You cannot compare our development rates. But if we embark on social and economic confederation, we can at least develop our countries. Then maybe in the later stages, maybe something like 2040 something, we can think about political confederation.
No. Honorable Agaba,
yes.
Namesake to my boss. I think you have not been following these steps. It is 20 years now, because you say maybe later on. It is 20 years now.
Yeah.
And it is at around this time that ideas, thoughts and conversations are being held to see whether we can have now a confederation, of a political confederation.
Well,
so what later are you talking about after 20 years?
Okay, one thing we should know, we as the East African countries, we are not ready to have that.
Just substantiate that for us. How?
First of all, when you look at our development rates, you look at the tribes, you look at the ethnicities. We cannot just come up with one political confederation. We have to first embark on the economic confederation and social confederation, because if we do that, then the political confederation will be easier. But remember, we have even failed to complete the 6 stages of the economic integration. First of all, we are on the second stage of the economic integration.
Okay, we'll take a very short break, but he has a question for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Ask and let him answer quickly. We take a break.
Yeah, I'll be as brief as a short man. One, I want to tell you something. We are saying that we cannot compare East Africa to USA, but you know by 1783, USA was very poor. By the time it got united, it was very poor. And another thing you should know is that there is nothing that will come like tribalism when there is one language. Look at Tanzania. Many people, there is nothing like tribalism. Actually, it's the country that it is free from tribalism in the whole of East Africa. Why? It's because they have one language.
That is the reason we are talking about promotion of social integration, the promotion of Kiswahili throughout East Africa. Let us first have the social integration before we move into the political confederation.
Political confederation will make it more efficient.
No, the point is when you push hot food into your mouth before you can eat it, it will choke you.
Honorable Nebo, his question was directed to Mr. Agaba here.
Yeah.
Can we have him answer?
Thank you very much. Before you embark on political confederation, we have to first look at these factors. Look at the development rates.
That's the reason why we need political confederation.
No, we don't need
It's
political.
like you're saying one language is going to solve someone's tribe. You know what a tribe consists of? It's going to consist culture, the ancestral background.
Look at Tanzania.
A language.
Look at Tanzania.
I'm speaking English here, but it doesn't deny me the fact that I'm a Munyankole and I still stay stamped by culture.
Tanzania has 122 tribes, and there's nothing like tribalism. There is nothing like had they ever come up whereby you'd be like,
Honorable Nobo, how do you rule out tribalism in a country? How do you come up with the statement that there is no tribalism in Tanzania? Where do you best to say that?
first, at how the politics are arranged, how the socialism is arranged. Tanzania, first of all, has nothing like kingdoms. It has nothing like chiefdoms. They are all abolished. There is one language, and it's official and it's compulsory from nursery to senior 4. And this has made people to what? To forget about their culture. Many people in Tanzania, I am a witness because I was once there. Many people don't know their languages. You know that? They don't know their tribal languages. And if that was in East Africa, it will bring it. There will be a lot of unity and politics will be efficient.
Alluding from way back when Obote abolished kingdoms. Did you see the crisis in Kampala? Do you know how much bloodshed will be here if they are to abolish kingdoms and the Baganda are no longer to, praise the
I'm sorry to say it, but he had his weaknesses. I'm sorry to say it, but he had his weaknesses.
Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies. We thank you so much for the submissions. You are watching a debate about whether we can have a political confederation in the East African community and how relevant and strong it can be. What contribution it can have for this region of the East Africa, and that's the discussion we are holding here with students from St. Mark's College, Namagoma. Is that the school?
Yes.
Yes. I didn't know, I thought I'd made a mistake because you did clap for your school, but they are here with us and we are sharing a lot of things. We're taking another short break. On return, we shall have a question for each one of these people. I have prepared questions from whatever submissions they made, and each one of us will show what they have. Then we shall wind up with some questions from the audience, and later on we shall wind up with our debate. Let's take just 1 minute for a glass of water and return. Please keep around. Thank you for watching.
My name is Kai Hannington, winner of the NSSF Friends with Benefits Season 2. I used my winnings to boost my agriculture production and give a chance to the people in my community to work.
So join us this year for the 3rd season of the NSSF Friends with Benefits, as 16 Ugandans share inspirational stories on how they use their NSSF benefits to do life-changing things. So tune in every Sunday with your host, Gaetano, and I, and special new host, Uncle D. It's another incredible display. It's the NSSF Friends with Benefits.
And that's not all. You have have the power to vote for your favorite stories to win up to 55 million shillings, just like Huntington. The show is brought to you by
NSSF, a better life. Introducing the new itel P15 smartphone with free 1GB Airtel data every month for 3 months. Enjoy the rich features like the big memory, 4000 mAh big battery, 5-inch HD screen, and the fingerprint sensor. Dial *175*9# to activate free 1GB Airtel data every month for 3 months. Get yours at the nearest itel branded shop. Itel, in partnership with Airtel, the smartphone network.
Yes, a very good afternoon. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. We are now coming towards the end of our debate with these students here from St. Mark's College, Tamagoma. Very brilliant students who are contributing to what they think about the political confederation of the East African community. We are with them here. 6 of them have made a panel, and we have an audience of others who will also have a chance to ask a question to each one of these panelists that we chose this morning. Yes, I'll have a question for each one of these panelists, and the question is derived from their submissions. There is one lady amongst them, and that's the very reason why she will probably suffer a lot, because as we know, ladies come in fast. You get? So Honorable Shema, you said you talked over a political integration solving political problems. You said it will come up with security and it will solve security problems. We shall have a currency. Then, do you look at the different political terrains in all the East African countries, and you really think they can support, I don't talk about individuals or personalities, but the terrains? Look at Uganda, look at Tanzania, look at Rwanda, Kenya, Somalia. Sorry, Somalia is not yet so much there, but Burundi, South Sudan. Look at the different political terrains or environment. Can these different environments really support, if we wake up and say, Honorable Noble and Olega, please be part of their session. So if we wake up and say we are now one country, East Africa, can the different political environments in our countries really support this choice you are supporting?
Thank you very much. And I'd like to remind you, one reason as to why we, as the East African community, or East African countries, we're not developing, that is due to neocolonialism. Trust me, we are still under neocolonialism, though we are granted independence. We are still having the foreign dominance in the different East African countries. And if we set aside the foreign dominance, we can all join up to do one thing. We take a point in Kenya. Kenya is more developed than the other East African countries. Why? Because it was ruled by, it was colonized by the British. And for them, they were so organized. But when we come to Uganda, before, they would come, they would first look at Buganda, they would go to Ankole, and because those colonialists would come and administer kingdom per kingdom, sometimes it would like anger the other kingdoms. They're like, why did they specifically go to Buganda? Why did they go to Ankole? And that brought about the, how should I call it? That brought about this integration of
of the defunct East African community. But here's my question, let me phrase it again. When you look at the political situation in Uganda, look at the political situation in Kenya, the one in Rwanda, you look at that one in South Sudan, look at the political situation in Burundi, they are all different. You mentioned something to do with term limits of presidents yourself. Not so?
Yeah.
It's not in Uganda. It's somewhere else. Other countries still don't have it within the same region. Now, in that kind of manner that we are, others are blue, others are yellow, others are what? Do you think the way we are, with different beliefs politically as countries, do you think these beliefs, the way we are, can really support a single government for 5 countries?
Yes, I
For
do.
5 countries that have different ways of politics?
I do believe with time it will be put into practice, because if we at first drive out the foreign dominations and we come together as East Africans, talk about the different issues, it can drive to one political confederation, one East Africa, and we won't have the different ideologies, the tribal conflicts, and all that.
Do you want to say that the political situations in East African countries is given birth to by foreign dominance?
Means that, okay, at a point it's given to birth by the foreign dominance, because if a country keeps on doing this, it will, when those guys are implementing policies, they don't look at the people. It will really affect the people, and because they're affected, they want to bring their point of emphasis to the government. So if we first drive out the foreign dominance and we look at ourselves as East Africans, as one people, like as one person, we can drive to political confederation. And if we attain political confederation, we shall no longer have conflicts, we shall no longer have tribal conflicts or any other issues disturbing East Africa.
Okay, thank you so much. That is our belief, with an apology, madam. Mr. Manzi, you were the second person to give your submission here, and you said that, I think you were talking about the Soviet Union, where you said Russia was so dominant. Did I get you right? Why do you think in an economic federation there can't be dominance? Have you looked at the budget, an annual financial year budget of Tanzania, Kenya, comparing it with the one of Burundi, for example? Why do you think if we don't have a political confederation, then there can't be dominance in an economic confederation?
I think, thank you very much, first of all. During the issue from having head of state, like my colleague talked about it later on, it may bring about this kind of nepotism. Looking at the leaders that that Uganda has had, for example, we can look at it as if it was from the Acholi, you can see that Obote had the Acholi majority, being the majority in the government. We're looking at a case study whereby the president is coming from maybe Uganda or Kenya, and the majority of the people on the board are being the Ugandans. Why would it dominate? It will be, the crisis will be there, like he said, there might be a police station maybe in Kenya, but then if we're having conflict, still the one will take the advantage. That's what I'm looking at. But when we are having our separate governments, each government will always work hand in hand to make sure that at least there is always that protections.
Yes, but in the terms where we still work as a confederation, at this point, which is still at economic terms, can't any economy dominate? Can't any economy take advantage of others, just like it would in the political confederation as you discourage?
The possibility will be, of course, at a small extent. But as we are, like as I talked about it earlier on, if we maintain and strengthen our aims and our cause and all the efforts we're putting in for the social economic integration, because it's already progressing. It has survived for the 20 years, it's already progressing, meaning at a later stage it's going to get better.
Okay. I'll leave it at that. I'll go to Honorable Ndiba Goba. You talked about a standard army and police, and you think it can really serve the East African community. First of all, you will tell us like where. 2, how stable are East African countries that you think they can really produce a one army and police force that can actually handle issues to do with security in a whole territory of 5 countries? First I want to look at each one of them in your mind. 5 countries. You tell us South Sudan, very good enough. Burundi, beautiful. Uganda, excellent. Rwanda, each one of them. Then take that assessment and tell us how capable those countries are to come up with one strong army and one police force
Thank you so much.
But first tell us like where.
Okay. First of all, I want to say something. These ones are not informed. That's my disappointment. Obote was not an Acholi. Obote was a Langi. Now let me get back to my question.
Quickly.
So, the reason why I say that if there is a joint army and police force, we shall be strong and the country's security will be of standard. Because in Kiswahili there is a saying that kidole kimoja kivunji chawa. And it means one finger can never kill a lice. It's small, but it can never kill a lice. And that's why there is so much of insecurity in what? In East Africa. Look at South Sudan. It is a small state. It just got independence of recent in 2011. And that's the reason why there are a lot of insecurities, a lot of rob activities. Look in northern Kenya. It's because it was isolated since the settlers were concentrated due to their what? Their personal interests, their imperialism. I get it. That's the reason why I say if there is a joint security, if Kenya's army comes with the TPDF of Tanzania, with the UPDF of Uganda, with the Rwandan army, with the Burundi army, South Sudan army, what do you think? It will be very strong.
Yes, but you say there are problems in northern Kenya. That means the army in Kenya has issues that it has not yet sorted out. Think you have heard of some elements of ADF that are mentioned once in a while in Uganda. You have mentioned problems in South Sudan. So if these individual armies have work to do, homework actually, why do you think they can still handle something as big as a whole region of 5 countries?
Thank you so much. You have used a very good example and I will base on it.
To tell a lie.
Yes, I do not go lie. Actually, it will be something very correct. You have said that they cannot finish their homework, but they can discuss. Now, you have said it's inefficient to work upon what they have in their country. And that's why I say a joint army is enough. It is very important. Because look at Tanzania. It is very, it has nothing like insecurities. The only insecurity that occurred, it was in 2012 when Malawi was fighting for Lake Nyasa. And it was really suppressed. And everything went to its what? It went calm.
Okay, let us end with the first one.
Yes.
Have a single army for a region, like where?
Kenya and South Sudan.
Do they have a single army?
They don't. But
just give us one part of the world where a region has a single army and we can take a lesson from that.
United States of America.
They have a single army?
Yes.
Thank you so much. I'll go to Noble. You discouraged the political confederation and said we have achieved a lot with the economic confederation stages, so there is no need of going political. Those were your words, not so? If we have achieved a lot with just economic integrations, why do you think then we can't take a bigger step of political confederation? Yes. If we have actually at these smaller stages, you said yourself that there is success, why do you think we can't again use it as a stepping stone to go high?
Yes, thank you so much. But before I go further, it is my utmost disappointment that my fellow panelists actually are contradicting themselves. Honorable Lega told us that Obote was an Acholi, but they come out contradicting themselves. But those are their issues. Okay. Back to your question. You've talked about if we have already achieved using social and economic. But do you notice that sometimes when when you're building a wall that is too high to safeguard yourself, in most cases you fall down trying to build it and you die, actually not experiencing the security of the wall.
It depends on how you do it.
Yes. Now my point is when if we already have social and economic integration and it is doing great work, the risks that are caused by political confederation are so high.
Actually, what you're doing, in our simple terms, you're discouraging somebody who has passed senior 6 not to dare university education.
No, you're actually getting it so I think you're getting it outside the brackets. Now, my intention here is let me make it a little bit clear. Still, I would love to so much refer to things that have already happened. We can't look into the future because we know nothing is in the future. But you can look at the past and judge by the past, see what has happened in the past to predict the future. Now, I'm imagining a situation where a Kenyan leader comes into power using the rotational leadership, because each East African country will be able to contribute a president or like a ruler. Now, imagine a situation that happened in Yugoslavia, that happened in United Socialist Republics, to happen in East Africa, whereby a Kenyan leader or a Ugandan leader is blocked or refused from having or taking over office. It will cause turmoil between Uganda and Kenya. It will worsen and fail the already existing social and economic integration. Leaders will begin confining to themselves, and it will actually lead to the actual failure of the whole East African community.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll go to Olega. Olega ruled out tribalism in East Africa. In fact, you said there's no tribalism in Tanzania. In Uganda, we are okay with it. Now, have you gotten any information about what happened in Kenya in 2007?
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately, no.
Yes.
Now, there was an election in Kenya where there was suspicion of it having been rigged. You get? People died, thousands ran to Uganda and all the neighboring countries, but suspicion of the cause of the problem was so much to do with the tribal attachment that was with the election. So you don't know about that?
No, I do. But I want to rule out just...
Well, actually, my question was, if you knew about what was in Kenya in 2007.
Now, basing on that, right now I'm aware because you just told me. Now, basing on that, I would like to rule out the word suspicion. Okay? It was a suspicion, or it was suspected, but let's bring to light the fact that, was it proven? It was not. So in other words, we cannot bank on the fact that tribalism had caused the rigging of the 2007 Kenyan elections. Now, besides that, let me also run back to one of our honorables. Yes, I do believe mistakes are made by humans, and that is what makes us human, honorable. But it's so unfortunate, and deep down from the bottom of my heart, I am crying. You know, the thing is, you are seated down looking at a big screen viewing the past and living in the past. It's so bad for a person to look at his victories and failures of the past, because you will fail to plan for the future.
Okay, just leave Nobo alone. Do you rule out? So you rule out tribalism in East Africa?
Currently, yes, let's rule it out, because now there is... let me say, there's a lot of things. Let's just break it down to be very, very easy.
You're not answering me.
Yes,
you rule out tribalism in East Africa?
I have ruled it out.
Thank you so much. I'll come to you, Mr. Agaba. You were our last person to submit. Actually, in your view, because of tribalism, we can't have a single government in East Africa. That's what you said. Can't we again build on our tribes, on their foundations, to have again a single government? Can't we have the tribes as something to value and build on it to have a single government? Can't tribes be a treasure? Can we only look at them as, because whenever you talk about them, tribalism, can we only look at them as a caste, not something to treasure as a region and build on it for success?
Thank you very much. I don't know if you put into consideration that these tribes have different practices. And
what is wrong with that?
Imagine you tell a Muganda man who is not circumcised to practice circumcision from the Bagiso. And you're going to tell the Bagiso to drop circumcision because you want to create that traditional harmony.
No. Actually, if I mention the names there, I can already cite more than 3 tribes seated at the same panel. You get? Can't we build on, just have a single government in East Africa, just as we have a single panel from different tribes? That's what I want you to tell me. What is wrong with having different tribes, but with a single government? We have a single government in Uganda, but with thousands. Actually, they're suggesting to even have a tribe of Indians join our tribe list. Have you heard of that? So can't we have 1 million of tribes, but with a single government? What is wrong with that?
I would like to remind the audience about the religious wars in Uganda. These were conflicts brought about by people believing in their religions, that they are superior than others. Now, take an instance. If right now we promote, we say that we're going to use tribalism to promote the political confederation and everything. Now, imagine the Baganda have their desires. They want a federal government. The Banyakwe do not want that. They, Chikuris, want something else. Like, how are we going to... I don't know if we can use that to achieve political confederation. So I think that division is still hindering political confederation. So maybe we can embark on economic and social integration, whereby we can develop the factors of economy, social. Maybe after that we can achieve political confederation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Agawa. I told you have my boss's name, so I handle you with some gloves. So we have 5 minutes. We're going to use only 2, and I'll just take 2 questions from 2 lucky people. I want a male and a female. Just ask a question to one of those people, and we move on. So I want the lady first. That is the lady from St. Mark's College, Namaguma, who can raise up her hand in just a minute. Okay, stand up, give us your name, and the microphone is just in front of you there. Quickly.
My name is Nazareth Faith. I'm in context from St. Mark's College, Namaguma. Well. I've heard from all of you, but my question goes to Nobo. I would like to ask, why do you think the East African passport is limited at the moment?
Thank you so much. Nobo, you have just 3 seconds to answer that.
Why the East African passport is limited at the moment?
Yeah.
Because there are already different passports that are already operating in the countries. So for this reason, they have not been able to remove the already existing passport to replace it with one that is working, the East African passport.
Why?
One thing you should know, I would like to inform you, either take it, but you have to take it. The thing is, the East African passport didn't just come out of the blue. It's because of those presidents uniting themselves, coming as one and deciding on what to do. That's why they said we have to do maybe something that can unite all of us, and that's why we see the East African passport. And with time, because of that political confederation, everything will be put in place.
Actually, thank you so much, my sister. Okay, we need one more question.
After that, and therefore,
you want to help him?
yes.
He doesn't have time. Let me take the other gentleman and we wind up.
Well, thanks very much. I'm called Christopher Lucky from 6 Simakon. My question goes to Shema. Shema, the way you concoct your concoctions are like that we have more of
the way she concocts her concoction.
The way she gave out her concoctions.
Okay.
But like we have more of ransom murder in Uganda. I want to inform you that Uganda has more than enough soldiers. You know, like when that confederation comes, that it will lead or it will end all that. To your own information, just know that Uganda has some soldiers that are helping somewhere to boost the chaos or somewhere. So I want to tell you that there is no need of there's no need of economic confederation, no dear. I have another question to you. I think I'd answer you. Thank you very much.
Shema, anything to say in a second?
I'd like to also ask him.
Ask him.
We really have, he has said we have many soldiers. So if we have the many soldiers, why there are rampant kidnappings and rampant deaths? We are just entangling Maginia's case. Why are they there? Why are they stopped? And why is it that the soldiers of Uganda are in to help other countries, not to help Uganda?
Well, I'm also saying that we know the role of the soldier. Excuse me. It's my time.
You didn't say your name, by the way.
I told you the old days that I'm called Chris Lucky.
Chris Lucky. Yes. Now you and Shema are exchanging questions, and we cannot be here like that. Thank you so much. Thank you. We know her stand and we know your stand. We just have to come to the end of this event, this debate. Thank you so much. We would like to hear from you in just a second, sir, as we wind up. You can represent a community also. We just give you some 3 seconds. My producer says we have no time.
Okay. Thank you very much, St. Mark's College, Namagoma. Thank you for this wonderful debate. If I was working for a private company, this would be my source of recruitment, because you appreciate the issues of this. Thank you very much. We wish you all a nice celebration.
Thank you.
What's your name, sir?
Oh, Edward Sevina is my name. I'm the Commissioner in charge of Social Affairs in the Ministry of East African Community Affairs.
To you watching from home, what do you think about the 5 countries, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, and now South Sudan, having a single government, one president, one army, one passport? As we move with the confederations, that is where we are heading. What do you think about it? You had the issues and the thoughts of these young minds. That's what they think. It is now up to you also to think about it and share it with your leaders and whoever can take your ideas wherever. We were here with 5 men and 1 woman. The woman is called Francesca Shema. Just stand up for recognition, please. Yes, that's the one. Next to her is Mr. Olega Joshua and Mr. Ndiba Goba. I've forgotten your other name. Okay. Then Nobo, thank you so much. You people are not clapping for you, but at least we appreciate your work. Then Mr. Manzi Ivan, and the man with glasses has my boss's name, Agaba Joel Gabriel. So we thank you so much for your submissions, and we only request you to go and get more informed. You're so promising, as young as you are, you're so promising. You can really deliberate and you can really share what you have. Do more research, get to know more about your country, get to know more about your region. And I see MPs from Namagoma St. Mark's College in the 2050. Yes, on behalf of the whole crew here, Elijah, John, Isaac on camera, and the crew in the control room, my name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. We cannot go beyond this point. You had something to say?
Yes.
Not more than a half a second.
Yes, we have students from different countries and
okay.
We'd like it to be recognized.
Just mention their names quickly.
Yes, actually we are already integrated. We are enjoying the integration. We have the fruits of integration, and amongst us here we have students from different East African community states.
Okay. Can we see them?
Students from South Sudan, you can just
stand up. Students from South Sudan, let's stand up and see. Stand up and let's see you. Okay. We have students from Rwanda. Anyone from Rwanda? Oh, they want to answer. Okay. Students from Burundi. Anyone from Burundi? We don't have any. Do you have anyone from Tanzania?
Yes.
Okay. There is no tribalism. Is that tribalism in Tanzania? You agree with him? Okay. Anyone from Kenya? Wow. Let me hope it's true. Okay. Do we have anyone from Somalia? Okay, you're almost welcome. Of course, Uganda is home for all of us, and the East African community is home for all of us. So, on my behalf and on behalf of the whole crew here, we thank you so much for watching. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa. We'll get back to you. We have a live coverage still about the 20 years of the East African community, where we'll be somewhere in Kampala at the Elia Kategaya Memorial Lecture. And I'll be there myself with this very crew. Please just keep it UBC TV. Enjoy our other programs and the rest of our productions. Bye-bye. See you.
Jambo
mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tuje